What's that? Howls from the woods, movement under the water, something you notice off the corner of your eye when you look it's gone. This is Cryptid Talk. Hello everyone. How is everyone today? Hope everyone's having a good Friday. Have a good Friday and or weekend, depending when you're listening to this. Hope the week went well, and hopefully you're glad as I am that the work week is now over and weekend. Yay! Now, just kind of realizing now that I kind of almost say a very similar intro, like almost every single time. I mean, hey, like when it just sticks, it sticks. Do I have any water in this? Oh, I do. Ah. So I hope everyone's having a good day. It's fall now. Halloween's next week, right? Next week, exactly a week from today of recording this, the 31st. Yay, Halloween. Yeah, Halloween's always been a fun holiday for me. I've always enjoyed it, and especially growing up. Always having some very interesting creative costumes and stuff and everything. But you know what? We won't be getting into it too much because I will say there'll be a very spoopy episode next week for Halloween. So be sure you listen in because it's going to be a very scary one. And you'll have a tough time falling asleep. Ooh. All right, we won't give away too much of the fun we'll be having next week. But you may be wondering, actually, if you probably already saw the title of the episode, you kind of already know what this episode's already going to be about. And we're doing an episode 3 of Bigfoot. I know, episode 3. I know, it's crazy. There's so many different directions I really could go with it. Some stuff that I have knowledge of, some stuff I don't, some stuff I'm not super knowledgeable about, so I really don't want to say things that might be incorrect. But so there's like on the cusp of what I know of Bigfoot himself and everything. I feel like I know a decent, like an okay amount, but nothing that'd be like I'm like the go-to expert you want to come to kind of thing. Sure, I mean, like if you know nothing, you want some like oh, where's some nice place to start? Like yeah, sure, I guess I'm your guy to come to for that. But if you want like the people that really know their stuff, like Dr. Meldrum, Cliff Barrickman, Matt Moneymaker, and stuff like that. Those are the people you want to go to and get advice from, and anything you can get from them. There there are a lot of people that I've learned a lot of stuff that I know, like kind of roll back a little bit to when we initially from the first episode of talking about Bigfoot, so episode 2, like finding Bigfoot was like the big thing for me. It was the thing that got me into, like, made me love Bigfoot to the point of where it is now. Sure, beforehand, I watched like the other previous shows like Monster Quest, Animal X, and all the other shows that like the show that talk about Bigfoot, Loch Ness Monster, Mothman. But it was always like, oh, that's pretty cool. But then when Finding Bigfoot came out, it's like these are like real people. It just sparked something in me, lit a flame to where it enveloped me into where I am, the love and respect I have for Bigfoot today, to a point where I've met some of the most incredible people ever. Being on the show itself, that's pretty impressive as it is. And then, of course, like having my kind of encounters I had from the BFRO expedition last year. So like I don't, if Finding Bigfoot never came up, I have no idea where my love of all this stuff would even be. Like I don't even know what my main big focus would be if I didn't have if Finding Bigfoot never came a thing. So that's when goodness gracious, when I went to the very first Cryptid Con in Kentucky, which we're going to next month, actually a month from now. Actually, yeah, a month from now, I will be in Kentucky. Sweet. Oh, fun fact. CryptidCon got announced that they're actually having their convention in September, beginning of September next year. There was a post they did at some point where they talked about how like it's like if you could have the convention any other time of the year, where would you want it to be? And I guess a big consensus for a lot of people was September or early fall. So we got September for CryptidCon, next year. But of course, one month from today, I don't know. I'll be in Kentucky for CryptidCon, so that's gonna be a lot of fun seeing some friends there that I've made along the way and everything like that. So it's gonna be a lot of fun and planning a little expedition to go to an area near there, but still figuring out where. Goodness gracious, how do we get to that point? Crackers. Oh yeah. So okay, yeah. So the very first one, I re-met three of the four members of Fighting Bigfoot. Bobo was gonna go, but he canceled his appearance because apparently I found out that he was actually filming something with Mark Marcel around that time, so he wasn't able to go. So I'll get you, Bobo. I'll get you. But went there and I told them like just like I pretty much told them that they were there, like a big old thank you. Like, if for people who may not know, Finding Bigfoot actually almost ended after like the first episode or two because some of the directors and people behind the scenes weren't really treating this like a traditional. Let's actually try to get evidence of Bigfoot in some way. They thought it was just one of those other shows, like, okay, go make some, sounds in the woods. Like let's make like fake TV in a way. And but then when they found out that they were all like, no, 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 like no, like we're legit, like in simple terms, like we're legit Bigfooters. Like we're not trying to fake anything. We're trying to get like real stuff. And they're like, oh shoot, we're dealing with real Bigfooters here, not just people who want to just fake it till you make it kind of thing on TV kind of way. So I told them thank you and everything else like that. So Finding Bigfoot really has done a lot for me to a point where like it's my most favorite cryptid of all time. Like I would even say my favorite animal of all time, pretty much. To where it's helped me meet all these amazing people and experience what I've experienced today. So I owe a lot to Finding Bigfoot in more ways than one. And of course, all the new friends that I got from it and everything else like that. Like I can't say that Bigfoot has not been a huge part of my life and is going to be until the day I die, which will not be for a very, 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 very long time, at least until I'm 100. If I can get to close to 100, I'm not gonna get that close. Maybe like mid high 80s. That's all. That's all I aim for. Low 90s if I'm lucky. But anyways, so what else? I mean, again, there's so much to talk about Bigfoot. There are some podcasts like that most of the topics are just talking about Bigfoot itself. Obviously, of course, I got to try to talk about other topics and stuff like that, but there is a lot to talk about with Bigfoot. And looking back at my notes, because now when looking back at my notes for the last two episodes for it, I kind of looked at, okay, what did I talk about here? Okay, I talked about here. I don't need to talk about here. Like I kind of made like little marks the first time of stuff I didn't get to, and stuff I didn't talk about in the second one, but then stuff that I kind of like hit, like kind of like touched upon in the first episode and the second one, where we kind of be going over a lot more today. And if there's time, I've got other stuff that we can talk about in there. But I think all of this is going to be leading to something that I want to do in the future, and I'm hoping I'll ask everyone's opinions at the end to see if it's a good idea. Obviously, nothing that happened anytime soon, but I think it's a pretty good idea because, as far as I'm aware, there's nothing like it that exists, at least that I'm aware of, by looking it up and anything like that. But that's good. That's gonna be for the. Actually, you know what? I am going to make a note of that real quick because there are things I'm saying I'm gonna say, but then I don't. Okay, hold on. I can't say that loud because I'd like to talk what I'm writing. Okay, there we go. All right, so make note of that so I don't forget about it. So today's episode is, again, we're talking about Bigfoot, but we're going to be going over the different theories that people have about the creature itself. Some being logical, some being not so logical. But we're going to go over the ones I have here, and we're just going to go just step by step, just talking about each one and, why people think that, the significance of it, and everything else like that. But before we start, if this is your first time here, welcome. My name is Michael Madden, and this is Cryptid Talk, the podcast where I talk about all things cryptid and Bigfoot for at least 3 times so far. If you like what you hear, please like, share, and subscribe on YouTube and all the other fun little stuff, and comment down below any of the just saying hi or anything like that. And of course, I also got a Facebook page, facebook.com/Cryptid Talk. And follow me there where I post things that I mention in the episodes that I'll post there, and other fun stuff like that. I also have an email, cryptidtalk91@aol.com. If you or someone else you know who has seen something in the woods or the wooders or the skies or anywhere, you've had any sort of creepy creature encounter, let me know about it. I would really like to hear. Even if you don't think I'll believe you, send it to me anyways. I've read and heard a lot of crazy stories that people have sent to others, and they don't seem logical at all. But people say I swear on my deathbed that this is true. So, give me your best shot. Send me anything you got, because I would like to have an episode where I just read some people's emails. But actually, you know what? Let's check real quick before we get into the meat of it. I think as of right now, though, if I exit out here, give my emails a second to load. No email yet. I did test it to make sure, though. I did get a test email sent to it to see if it'll work, and it does work. It's just a matter of just finding people who have seen something. So if you feel like, don't feel bad since I haven't gotten any emails yet. Like, he hasn't gotten emails yet. Like, it's all right. Please don't worry about it. I don't want fake emails of people trying to send in fake stories. I want real, and the stories don't even have to be long. They could be like, oh yeah, I saw a Bigfoot, across the street. Like, obviously, okay. Let's clear some of that up a little bit. If you have seen something, get as much detail as you possibly can. What time of day was it? The weather. The possible height of the creature. Anything that you can remember about it, even as the most insignificant little detail of, I was listening to the Backstreet Boys on the radio in a CD or something like that, or from my phone. Like, I don't care. Give me every little detail about what you saw. Maybe if you know how how tall it was, or the size, or anything. I'm just using Bigfoot as an example, but for anything, like any amount of details that you can give me, please add into the email. Like, tell me a story. Okay, I got to work on that a little bit. Pretty much make it like as you're telling me a narrative story. You're like, it was June 16th, 1933. I'm sitting on my porch smoking a cigar, watching the trees move. Like something like that. Like, give me, tell a story to me and tell me like as much details as you possibly can. I'll have to work on that pitch a little bit, because I think that really help a lot. Anywho, let's get back on track. So we're going to talk about the many different theories that there are about Bigfoot. Now, again, some of these are, as I'm going through all these, I will, at the end, even though I kind of have mentioned it before, but I will talk about, which one I believe is, is most, where I go, because my thoughts of what Bigfoot could be has changed over time. But I'm kind of, my thought for it has changed a little bit, to where you're like, okay, that makes a bit more sense. Hearing more evidence and supporting theories about it. It's like, okay, I'm starting to see it now. So I'm just gonna go through all these theories, and then you can make your own judgment call yourself. So again, I'm gonna go through all of them, even if some of them may seem outlandish and stuff like that. Like, on this show we talk about everything we possibly can, whether or not it's true or not. But let's go over the theories and let's just go from there. So the first one we are going to start with is the giant hominid species, or pretty much just like giants. Believe it or not, though, hold on, we have to do our leg adjustment during the episode. surprisingly or not, giants have actually been a thing that's been in like everyone's like history and like all over the world at some point. And of course, you got the story of David and Goliath from the Bible, and even yeah, even in actually just looking at one of the other things here, that even in the Bible they've mentioned giants in Genesis, and believe that maybe they were Bigfoot or stuff like that. Now, what they actually considered as giant, like the definition of giant is very tall. Like someone like if the average people are like 5 foot, someone who's like 7 or 8 feet can be considered like a giant. For me, if I'm seeing someone like a giant, I would consider them like 10, 15 foot tall or higher, is what I would consider a giant. But that's just me. So, yeah, so all over the world, there are stories in people's art, literature, history, talking about some like giant humanoid creatures or hominids in some form or fashion. Whether or not they were seen as a more peaceful group, or I knew that was going to happen. My phone fell and I just caught it. Or, maybe them not being so generous and a bit more malicious. There are stories about them all over the place. Where we're going to start with this one is in surprising enough, there was a special on TV. God, how long ago was that? Maybe like 7, 10 years. How old am I? Yeah, something like 7, 10 years ago. There was a special, I believe, on History Channel, a little series where they talked about giant humanoids in North America, and apparently Native American tribes told stories. Native Americans told stories of giant tribes of people, like not just like the average sized person, like giants. Now, the the interesting thing about some of these stories is that a lot of them, there are a lot of different native. Take two. There are many different Native American groups around the U.S. that tells different stories of giant humanoid tribes. Some of them depicted them as giant humanoids that look just like us, just it's obviously just taller. The interesting characteristic about a lot of these giant humanoids is that they had, apparently, as legend goes, a second row of teeth on their top and bottom jaw. Kind of like sharks away. Sharks have multiple different layers of teeth that whenever one tooth gets knocked out, another tooth will quickly grow behind it and replace it. Us humans, we only have one row of teeth, and technically, if you really want to say, we really only have two sets of teeth: the teeth we start with, and then the permanent teeth that grow after, that push out our baby teeth. But these ones literally had 2 rows of teeth. They were huge. So kind of look at it. You open them. Look at a little. Yeah, my goodness. Stop for a moment. Open your mouth. You know how you feel. You have your 1 row of teeth at at the top and 1 row of teeth on the bottom. Well, imagine there was a second row of teeth behind them, and on the bottom part of your jaw and the top jaw. Kind of crazy, right? And that's very like apparently like what's the word I'm looking for? Like not agreed upon, but very universal. And a lot of people saying that they keep seeing there are these stories of giants, and they're all like this. And so it's like, okay, now oh yeah, so in that show, they were never able. I don't remember they were actually able to find some of these skeletons, because apparently there were skeletons of these so-called giants, but they were never able to find them because they would go to places where they should have been, but they weren't there anymore. So were they ever really there? Anything like that? We may never know. There's always stories of like, look at this old picture of a giant skeleton found, kind of thing. But of course, no one knows. Sometimes that picture, people don't know when or where the picture was taken, or where is the skeleton now from this picture, stuff like that. A lot of these always like, oh, look at this cool thing. You want to know any more information about it? Too bad, there is none. Or like, oh, it's all gone, or something like that. We like, you don't know a lot, so much information from back then. So that's like, great. But but they a lot of them always depict them as they're all like these giant. What is this? Oh, my pen. Always like depict them as like these just giant humanoid creatures. But then there are a few depictions of these giant tribes where they don't look like people per se. They do, but they're all covered in hair. Now, a lot of these stories don't depict them as being as tall as some of like these giants, because I think some of these I can't go fan, but I think some of these giants that they were told initially were like 10 feet tall or so, maybe a little taller, and yet the average Bigfoot that most people agree upon is between 6 to 8 feet tall. So kind of under that a little bit, but again, then also depicting them as being these hairy people. Now, obviously, in early days of Native American culture, you see any other group of people, humanoids that kind of look like you in a way, but they look a little different. And all are just, oh, there's another tribe over there. That's all you really know. So that's what you call it, a tribe. Now, obviously, they probably weren't that. They probably weren't that. They might have just been like a family group or something like that. But we don't know the actual dynamic. But that's all we know. So all they're like, oh, the hairy tribe, of over the mountain. Yeah, we see them so often there. Sometimes they cause problems for us. There are some stories of. I think I talked about this a few weeks ago. Maybe farther than that. Maybe I didn't. Yeah, of the kind of going back a little bit. Now, this wasn't North America, but when we talked about the orang pandeka actually about a month ago, where they told stories that some of the local people in Sumatra a long time ago, were able to coexist with these other like so-called like smaller tribes people, and now, a lot of these stories were, for some of them, were at least for now for the North American giants, that they were more so with the more humanoid-looking ones, not all covered in hair. But there were some, good relations with some, and obviously, of course, like any tribe of any people, animal, whatever, there's always going to be a few, bad ones. There's always going to be problems with stuff like that, fighting over food, territory, water, the normal things that people fight over and stuff like that. And so, there were some problems with that. A lot of times with the hairy giants, people were always, our Native Americans always talked about how, most of the time they kind of kept them themselves. They would hear them doing some sort of chanting in the woods, more so like their screams or howls, and just like sometimes like throwing rocks at them, from the distance and stuff like that. But I mean, there are even apparently some stories of like a Bigfoot-like creature. Watch this. You go to this YouTube channel called Wartime Stories. It's a really fun. It's a really cool YouTube channel I found of veterans and people who were in the war, who were any sort of military group, telling stories about some real crazy stuff that they've seen. Apparently, one dial back to where a Native American tribe dealt with a possible Bigfoot that was a Bigfoot or multiple Bigfoots that was attacking their village, and this one warrior had to had to fight it. It's a it was a very fascinating story. I've never heard anything like it before, so go check it out. Wartime Stories. Tell him Cryptid Talk sends you. He has no idea who I am, but anyway, who knows? Maybe he will after this. So they always talked about him like that, and and of course, like I mentioned earlier, stories of okay, we haven't gotten there yet, shortly. And so there was always like the giant humanoids and the giant less size hairy hominoids, and of course people like there was most of the times the hairy hominoid ones were always the ones that caused problems and stuff like that. But the interesting thing is that this isn't the only part of the world where where giants are known to, exist. There are stories of other parts of the world, very remote parts of them telling like of giant humanoids. Now, not like like Bigfoot is on every single continent except Antarctica, as far as we're aware. There's some there's some crazy stuff I've heard about Antarctica. I would love to visit. Never want to go. If you want an Antarctica. Man, why am I always saying Antarctica episode about some of the stuff I've heard about, maybe some stuff more I can find? Let me know down in the comments below. Anywho, so there are stories of these giant like creatures all over the world. One in particular, though, that was mentioned. It was on and mentioned that Wartime Stories YouTube channel and podcast that I talked to you about, called the Solomon Island Giants. I have heard of the Solomon Island Giants before, and how people. I think it was during World War II. People who were on the island were actually apparently getting attacked by these so-called huge giants. That that the more inland you got, the more confrontational they got with soldiers from both sides, who would go there and they would be attacked by these giants. So and then there were that's apparently scared a lot of people off, people who were trying to use that island as more of a strategical point, and scared them off the island because of these creatures. And they people swear that these things existed. Like even like the locals, again, early time, they have no reason to lie about something like that. They're like, oh yeah, the center island, yeah, that belongs to the giants, so yeah, we don't go there. They're very territorial. And of course, people, like, it's like, oh, I don't believe you. And then they go there, and then uh, stuff hits the fan. We'll say that for sure. So giants, a very interesting one. I don't believe this per se, them being like giants, but definitely something more of like the hominid like direction at least. The next one is the next theory that people have out there is that Bigfoot is a bit more paranormal. I personally, but before we go any further, I personally believe Bigfoot is a flesh and blood creature. There's a biological sense to it. Whether or not there's some stuff about we don't fully understand, sure. Some stuff we may not be able to comprehend right away, possibly. But definitely nothing paranormal. But we're going through all the theories of what people have. You can make the judgment call for yourself. So the paranormal side of it goes to where there are. Where can I go? This initially, the whole idea behind Bigfoot being a paranormal thing, or like a an interdimensional, multidimensional being, is where people say they see a Bigfoot, like they're watching it, and then all of a sudden it just like vanishes, and then that's when the whole people are like, where'd it go? Where'd it go? It was just there. Like, what happened to it? And they're like, it must have disappeared. It must have like went through a wormhole, or like stepped back into like the second or third dimension, and like so we can't see it when it phases out, like that kind of thing. So that's what I believe. That's what really started this whole thing of Bigfoot being a bit more of a paranormal creature, a paranormal interdimensional being. And yet there are some people that say that Bigfoot is more of like a guardian spirit that protects the land, and stuff like that, and like a lot of that comes from Native American culture. But I mean, hey, that's who knows with that one. But I definitely don't believe. Well, okay, now I'm not. It's not my place to go with like it's this or that, or stuff like that. But this is definitely not one. This is the paranormal side of it being an interdimensional being is not very taken very seriously a lot by a lot of time Bigfoot community. But I mean, hey, any of these theories are as good as anyone's until we know the truth. But now, let's see. Hold on. There was something else gonna go to vanish and interdimensional being. Okay, yeah. Okay, so to what I believe the whole vanish thing is, what started this whole theory, is that Bigfoot are very good at hiding. Is that my phone? Yes, it was. Oh, come on. There we go. Bigfoot is very good at hiding. They're masters at it. They know how, in a lot of time, they know how to move And then when they find a good spot, they know how to hunker down or just turn it away so that they just pretty much turn invisible. That's why there's so many different, variation colors of Bigfoot. Yeah. So something we talked about beforehand. I believe in those in the second one. Yes, it was in the second episode where like there's different colors of Bigfoot in different parts of of the world in the U.S. and stuff like that because they use to match the colors of their environment. So like if we go down to the south a little bit, the skunk ape is believed to be a bit more of a brownish reddish Bigfoot. And it's probably used to match along a lot more of the colors that are down there. Now, sure, there are reddish, brownish Bigfoots in other parts of the country and stuff like that, but I'm just using that one as an example because the skunk ape has always been seen as more as a reddish brownish colored one. So I believe that's a lot of what the vanishing is for some people, that it just moves to a point where like there's some heavy enough brush and then it just hunkers down and like doesn't move. It's kind of like if you watch the Marvel Avengers Infinity War, when Drax says he'd like if I stand perfectly, if I stand still and move so slowly, it'll seem like I'm almost invisible, kind of thing, even though he wasn't. But same general idea here. They're very smart. They're very clever. They know how to hide very well. They also know how to scare the crap out of people. But hiding though, they are masters at. That's why it's so hard for us to find them, because they're the masters at hiding. And so, and then it kind of goes without the one theory. I don't believe I got into it last time, even though I wrote it down. I may not have, but I'll quickly touch upon it. There is also a theory that one of the paranormal sides of it is that that they can vanish, but another one was that it can kind of do like a camouflage thing, kind of like what the Predator does in the Predator movies. It's got that little warble kind of thing. Someone believes that one time they saw what they called that, like a warble going in front of their car, and it was like some weird shape, and it was just walked in front of the car and went off into the woods. Now, I've only seen this one time by Tom Shea, and where he talks about how there are some hairs that were found that believed to be Bigfoot. That what's the word I'm looking for? They seemed like they were transparent once they hit the sun. Once they're in direct sunlight, they kind of seem like they came like transparent in a way. And he even showed a picture of showing the hair and some light going through it, and yeah, the hair looks pretty transparent or a lot brighter or something along those lines. And so one of the theories behind that, possibly maybe explain that, is that maybe Bigfoot have some sort of way of using of like some of maybe some of them, maybe not all of them, but some of them using their hair as like maybe in some way of like a camouflage like thing, but nothing extraterrestrial, nothing like crazy or anything like that, but more like something like a very interesting biological adaptation that some of them may have gotten to evolve to that. Now, do all of them have it? I don't know, but even if that wasn't the case, though, the fact that they're just so good at hiding makes it seem like they vanish. Which to me, though, I don't believe that's the case. But hey, that is just me. So this one, it was obviously one like the early days of Bigfoot and stuff like that, and like even before the Patterson and Gimlin footage, and like just early, even like early when the early signs I saw a giant ape man kind of thing. One of the theories behind it is that they're escaped apes. Now around the time now they're obviously back in the day, where there were circuses that would travel, through trains to different parts of the U.S. and stuff like that. There were sometimes stories, some apes getting out, or anytime in like if there like a hurricane came through, like I believe it might have been Hurricane Katrina, but there were always some hurricanes, especially in the South, that some of the hurricanes would be so bad they would destroy exhibits and stuff like that. And apparently some of the apes would get out. Now, of course, and then that's when it started to spark the whole thing that's what some of these skunk ape encounters were, or some of these other interesting ape or ape like encounters were some like a hairy hominoid like creature. But a lot of times in some of these cases with these primates, a lot of these primates got recaptured and everything was all good. But obviously, some people still believe in some of these cases. Well, maybe there was like that one that that escaped, and or something like that. It's like, well, okay, sure, okay. If let's say if one did escape, there's not much it's gonna do. It's not gonna be able to reproduce. There's in reality, there are no known species of primate in North America besides Bigfoot and obviously human beings. So obviously, it's not like this like a monkey that escaped from like a zoo or a circus would be able to find another one to reproduce and stuff like that, unless there's one another like a mate that escaped with it. But even then, though. So, because there were some cases of people saying they see like an ape, because the one thing that made people think they go, oh, it's an escaped ape, is that whenever there are a few people, especially in the early days, even now, on it actually, when people say they've gotten a good, like, well, okay, yeah, especially back in the day, whenever people got a good look at it, the first thing they always said was it was a giant ape man or giant ape. Because that was always the first thing came to mind. Because it's a huge. Because people knew what an ape or a monkey looked like, and next thing they know, they see this tall humanoid like shaped thing, but covered in hair. They think they think giant hairy humanoid or humanoid shaped like giant humanoid like creature covered in hair equals ape. And that was a lot of people's mindset of what they thought was going on with a lot of these early sightings on that people were just screaming like, oh, I saw a giant ape man and stuff like that, up until when Sasquatch and Bigfoot started becoming the norm for what they call it, instead of just calling just a giant ape. Well, I mean, technically we are apes as well, because that's how we evolved, but that's that's besides the point. So I don't believe that. Who knows? Maybe there were a few like smaller, I saw a little one kind of thing. Maybe they might have been, but even then, uh, so I personally do not believe this one being more of a thing. I think that maybe caused some problems for a few people, or saw a few things at first for a little bit in some cases, but I don't believe that is what is causing the Bigfoot phenomenon that it is today, on where it is and the differences between it and everything else like that. The next one is the Gigantopithecus theory. Now, this is the one that I actually started with at first, because when you I know we have talked about before, but we're gonna talk about we're gonna talk about it again. Around because after looking at the whole theory behind it, this one made a lot of sense. There's a lot of possibility behind it. So, for people who don't know, Gigantopithecus was actually a known species of giant ape that lived in the forests of India and of Asia many thousands of years ago. And I believe its most modern day relative is actually is the orangutan, I believe. Let's do. Okay, I'll look at that later. Gigantopithecus. There we go. Okay, Gigantopithecus. Relatives. Here we go. Yeah, so the most modern, the closest version to the Gigantopithecus is the orangutan. Just because a lot of early depictions show Gigantopithecus being a terrestrial ground ape. Didn't go in the trees, so kind of like gorillas a little bit. Actually, hold on a second. Family tree. Here we go. Okay, maybe we can get actually like a physical. Aha! Here we go. Interesting. Okay, so if we're looking at Gigantopithecus, obviously, all the different ape species grew, separated into what they are. Like we have like the gibbons, and real quick, if you didn't know, the difference between apes and monkeys is that monkeys have tails and apes don't. So there's your little fun fact for the day if you didn't know that beforehand. Anywho, so the family tree I'm looking at right here showing gibbons and Oreopithecus. Yeah, Oreopithecus. Yeah, because the Lotus says an Oreo. I love Oreos. And there's gibbons, and then we come into more of like the hominidia. Hominidia. I'm not good at scientific words. I've never been good at that. But it kind of showing there's a little split of them right here. One going in the direction of of gorillas and chimpanzees, and then of course and then humans. While the other group separated going into orangutans, some other ones I'm not even going to try to pronounce, and then of course we then got orangutans. So Gigantopithecus separated to its own giant ground terrestrial group, and then evolved and parted off into orangutans. And so the whole theory behind Gigantopithecus was that Russia, I've mentioned before, Russia is a lot closer to North America than we think. Yeah, I believe it was like not even like a mile or two or so, maybe even a few miles between the part of Russia and Alaska. Not far at all. Oh yeah, okay, that's right. Because we were talking about dragons. That's why we're talking about that. Oh, wait, no, not dragons. The Park Ridge Creek monster. That's right. Anyhow, so connecting them, there was an ice bridge that connected Russia to North America through Alaska, the theory was that Gigantopithecus crossed that ice bridge, came over to North America, and then over time slowly dispersed into all the different subgroups that we have of Bigfoot all over North America, Central America, even the South America. There's stuff, again, every continent we've got something, small or big. Now, at one point though, so then they all kind of separated from there, and then evolving to what we have as Bigfoot today. Makes a lot of sense. Now, there was one, at one point I went to a real deep dive search into this whole thought of okay, let's say let's just play around with the thought for a little bit. Let's say Gigantopithecus is the father of Bigfoot and stuff like that. Like Bigfoot came from Gigantopithecus. The only problem with some of that theory that I was thinking okay, well, okay, sure, that makes sense for maybe stuff in the certain parts of the world, but the big one I always had a tough time scratching my head around that theory is the Yowie in Australia. Sure, there in Asia is not that far from Australia. All right, going back to Google Maps. I'll go back to that a little bit because I'm kind of curious about that myself. Google Maps. Come on, Google Maps, load. There we go. Oh, nope. Ah, God, what are we looking at right now? Terrain. Man, there is Google Maps. You are. Aha! Here we go. There we go. Thank you. Okay, you go away. They changed something in Google Maps. Anyhow, crackers. Where is I going with that? Gigantopithecus. Crackers. Now I forget where I was going with it. Of course, my short-term memory. Yeah, because we talked about the ice bridge connecting from here. Okay, I remember. Okay. So we got China. So we have India. We got China here, Mongolia, and then as we start going down, we got Thailand, Vietnam, and sure, there is land that connects Malaysia to Singapore. Go to Malaysia with a little bit of water that connects to Singapore, so you could swim from there, and then going from Singapore. Oh, that's part of Singapore to Sumatra, and then going down to the other part of Sumatra, and then going all the way over here to Timor Leste, and then going from there, we have Australia. Now let's see. We need tools real quick. Measure from here to, let's say, the closest part of mainland here. It is not close. about like 345 miles from one point of oh god, it's even farther there. From the point of Sumatra going down to the most closest part to to Australia. Even then, even if it started going towards the whole area of like Indonesia, Papua New Guinea, sure, it's a little closer here. It's a little closer here and stuff like that. No, clear. There we go. Going from here. God, I lost my measure thing already. Going from here to here. Still over 130 miles from Papua New Guinea to the more tipper part of Australia. It's still the theory that it would somehow got there would be tricky. Like, but now some of you might be thinking, well, what if all the continents were together at one point? Uh, the island of, oh my gosh, why can I not remember? What were all the continents together called? I don't know. I can't. Pangea. Thank you. When we were on Pangea, sure. But by the time that primates would have started, like some sort of primate like mammal would have started appearing, the separation of of the of continents would have already started to separate already, and the distance may have been too far. Sure, could there have been some land connections that we don't have around today that could have connected it? Maybe. Huh, that actually would make a lot more sense. But even then, regardless. So the theory behind all that has always seemed like, well, I don't know, maybe. Kind of hard to say, but, anything's possible and all that. So, might have got a little off track about that one a little bit. But more or less, the Gigantopithecus theory for a lot of people, I think was probably the starting one for a lot of people, especially me. If there is scientific evidence of this creature existing, even though we only have like very few bone, like different kinds of bones of it, besides obviously the jaw piece and a lot of teeth, and maybe a few other bones here and there, but we really don't have a lot of Gigantopithecus. So now, and then of course it traveling all the way through there and everything like that, sure, and then of course evolves into a way where, could they believe that Gigantopithecus moved around kind of like a gorilla or an orangutan would on all fours, while Bigfoot seems to be very comfortable walking on two. Is able to walk and run on four, but seems to be quite comfortable on two legs. So that's the Gigantopithecus theory. Another more of the interesting theories is that Bigfoot is an alien. Some people believe that Bigfoot is an alien because there have been some reports of either A, seeing a Bigfoot on the ground and then a UFO in the air. Ooh, coincidence. Some people swear on their lives that they have seen a Bigfoot walking out of a UFO or being dropped off or something like that. To where it then started the whole theory that, maybe Bigfoot's an alien and Earth is like a prison planet for all these strange, weird cryptids and creatures that we always seem to find throughout the world. And so, sure, I've been. So the whole. Sorry. So there's so there's that with the possible theory of Bigfoot being an alien. Now, honestly, I wouldn't be surprised because I personally believe aliens exist. We can't be the only intellectual beings in the whole universe, galaxy, cosmos, whatever. There has to be more. And there's enough evidence to support that, aliens do exist. The interesting thing, though, is that I wouldn't believe, because, there are stories of, people being abducted by aliens. They're probably curious about us, want to know how we tick and stuff like that. I wouldn't be surprised if aliens abduct Bigfoots as well, and maybe in other creatures and stuff like that. Because there's like, all right, look at these squishy little humans. Oh, they're so tiny and soft. Dude. What the heck is that thing? He's all big and hairy. Let's abduct him. Let's see what's going on with him. They probably. I honestly wouldn't be surprised if aliens do abduct Bigfoots from time to time, for who knows what reasons. I mean, we don't even know why they seem to abduct people, but I really wouldn't be surprised they abduct Bigfoot. It's such a unique, different creature compared to the billions of people that are on this planet, and they keep seeing out these hairy hominoid, these giant hairy humans, and they're like, the heck is going on here? What's going on Earth? Let's go figure this out. Like, and so they probably go along those lines. Now, I personally don't believe that Bigfoot's an alien, but I wouldn't be surprised if they like to whoop, suck one up every so often and figure out what's going on with them. I really wouldn't be surprised because they're curious, we're curious. It's bound to happen. Another theory for Bigfoot is that it is some sort of a human animal hybrid like creature. There have been, ever since the tabloids have been a thing, even before that. If you ever look back at old tabloids, especially after Bigfoot really started becoming a thing, it'd be like I gave birth to Bigfoot's baby, or I got abducted by Bigfoot and now I'm carrying its baby, or something like that. I married a Bigfoot. Like a lot of those tabloid things really came out a lot of those times, and yet there are some stories, not just like there might have been one in North America, but I know there are a few stories around the world of people, of women who actually were impregnated by a hairy hominoid like creature, and apparently even sometimes in some stories gave birth to them, to where they even actually lived long enough to actually like grow up and not really being able to function as well. Some of them didn't last long, but some of them, there were some stories of them actually, of some growing to be like at least older or adults, and them being like fairly oddly misshaped or like taller than everyone else. So there are stories of stuff like this happening. Now, I personally don't believe that. I don't think Bigfoot is some sort of human animal hybrid. Even though a lot of times when people have gotten like a good look at the face, they always say like it was surprising how human it was, but at the same time there was something animalistic about it. But of course, human enough with the eyes and the nose and the mouth, but something primal about it when they look at it. And so, when we have these stories of people, saying that they've given birth to, like a hairy hominoid, like something they got from they, were with like some sort of hairy humanoid like creature. And of course, a lot of times with these so-called bones and remnants of some of these people that, lived for a time, and of course, their bones are never found or very tricky to find, or no one knows where they are or anything else like that. So it's kind of hard to say whether or not like if all of them are. But I feel like there's a handful of reports around the world throughout history where some of this may have been a thing. Now, not all of it, but I think there are probably some cases of this probably happening. Honestly, I'm not surprised that it has happened because something like that is bound to happen. Another theory is that Bigfoot is some sort of like caveman or Neanderthal like creature. Because believe it or not, they're not there's like a small handful in North America, but in parts of like Russia and Europe and that part of the world over there, especially in Russia, there are stories of of seeing like a actual like caveman Neanderthal like creature, not like a Bigfoot, where it's all covered in hair, but like imagine if you saw a what's the word, like a wild human, like all right, I'm gonna take this human and throw him in the woods, wee, and you leave him there for like 50 years or so, maybe longer, and his hair gets all long, and he doesn't seem, he's not acting like a human anymore, acting like more like an animal. That's what apparently people are seeing in some of these parts of the world, of like seeing like caveman Neanderthal, like some of them wearing like loincloths, or some just have hair that's covering like their privates, but they've got like a lot, most humans like bare skin, just long hair on their head, and like just like certain little parts here and there, and them being like trying to like go like trying to scare people off and anything. So stories of like this do pop up from time to time. There are some people that said they may have, seen something like that in North America, but those are very few and far between. Most people go along with the full hairy, Bigfoot like look, but who knows? Maybe there's something else. Now, I do believe that some of these people who said they saw these things. Now, a lot of these people people saw these things in the past 100 years. Apparently, a lot of times during World War One, two, I almost said three, and the Cold War. Soldiers seeing this big old wild man throwing rocks at them and being like, trying to scare them off and everything else like that. So I do believe there's something else going on, that there's more than just Bigfoot stuff going on. There's these some sort of caveman Neanderthal things. How it's possible, no idea. But if look on Google Earth. Look how big Russia is, and tell me there are probably not plenty of unidentified creatures or anything living in those remote parts of Russia. Because a lot of those parts of Russia, kind of like a lot of parts of Canada, are not inhabited by very little to no people. So people can't report things of stuff that's out there if there's no one there to report it. That's the same thing with in North America with Bigfoot reports. The reports are where the people are. If there's no people there, there can't be any reports. Doesn't mean the Bigfoot's not there. That just means there's just no one there to report them. Another theory, this one is more for Africa, is that Bigfoot is a giant ground sloth. There's a Bigfoot-like cryptid creature in Africa called the Mapinguaring, something very close to that, where it's just that's what they call it. Some stories depict it as being the generic Bigfoot design, big tall humanoid creature, stuff like that. Very so often there are stories of them depicting it more as of a giant ground sloth. Now, giant ground sloths did used to exist back at the time of prehistoric time. And these things were huge. I feel like they were all right, hold on. Giant ground sloth. Giant ground sloth size. There we go. Oh, come on. Here we go. Giant ground sloths were believed to be up to 10 feet tall and weighing over a ton, or roughly around 220 pounds. 2,200 pounds. Goodness. Yeah, it's late for me while I'm recording this, so my brain is starting to shut down. So a lot of these reports are depicting this creature as looking more like a giant ground sloth instead of being something more humanoid-like. It's slow, it's got the big old claws, it's got the tail dragging behind it. Now, I believe there were fossils believed to found of giant ground sloth fossils found. Apparently some giant ground sloths were found in a cave in West Virginia. But there's giant ground sloths are found. Here we go. Argentina, Belize, Ecuador, Santa Cruz. So, and kids found fossil. Oh, actually, this happened just recently, 2024. Neat. So, some of these reports of people saying the Mapinguaring looking more like a giant ground sloth. Now, it could be possible that there could be, both. Hard to say. There's parts of Africa that are, very, very remote. I mean, that's why we have so many interesting cryptids there. We got Mokele and Bembe, a bunch of other dinosaur cryptids and stuff like that. So there's some very interesting things in Africa, and how remote they are, and jungles, and how hard it is to get to places. So I wouldn't be surprised if there were some creatures there, like the okapi. The okapi. Wait. Go back to Google. Okapi. I think the okapi is in. Okay, no, I am right. It is in the Democratic Republic of Congo in Central Africa. So there you go. And the okapi, is a known animal. Once was considered a cryptid. Listen to my first episode if you haven't already. And so if the creatures like this, could live there and stuff like that. So maybe there's something more, maybe something else that we don't really know of. And so, a very interesting theory. The last theory. the last theory we have is early hominid species. That Bigfoot is an ancient hominid that evolved into what it is today in our modern Bigfoot sightings. Now, because there are a lot of for like paranthropus and excuse me, I am sorry. I gotta take a quick drink. Some stomach acid just came up. Sorry about that. So yes, we have Paranthropus, Australopithecine. I believe that's. I know. I probably messed that one up a little bit, but there's a few different human hominid species that we have some fossils of that people believe that they are. These are the modern day equivalents of what we had from some of ancient hominoids species. Because obviously, like Neanderthals and caveman, like our evolutionary chain separated from them millions of years ago to evolving to as we are today. So it wouldn't be surprised if there were more species that separate, because we separated from those other apes, like I mentioned before with Gigantopithecus, and then evolving and separating to we are today. I wouldn't be surprised at some point if some sort of separation happened, with other groups, going to like these other humanoid like species, to where some people believe that some of these ancient hominid species actually may have mated to create another subgroup that something along the lines with evolution and maybe multiple subgroups or just one group evolved to a point of to where we got Bigfoot today. Now, in a lot of evidence of what people say, like, oh, some Bigfoot stuff kind of looks like this, like its foot, and it's like head, like certain aspects of Bigfoot that people have reported seeing today matches some descriptions of what little we do have of some of these ancient hominid species. There is not for some groups of them, there is not a lot. Some of them we literally have like maybe like a toe bone or finger or something very, very small like that. We like a lot of these ancient hominid species. We don't even have a full skeleton. Not even for some people, not even a skull. So people are still trying to piece together just from what little information we have, to make sense of all of it. But now, of course, we then a lot of those stuff are now being pointed as this is what we got towards. Huh. Cool. um. Of evolving to where we got today and everything like that, and certain aspects of them do match some stuff of Bigfoot. So I'm like, okay, that's actually pretty. That is pretty neat. And so overall, this is kind of the theory that I after hearing about it and looking into it a bit more myself and hearing people talk about it who are much smarter than I am, because that's how you learn. You learn from talking to people and listening to people who are much smarter than you. Remember that. Especially if they're talking, you're talking in like they're talking nonsense or not, they're talking smartly. I'm trying to think of the word for that. That's not working out. So I believe that's probably what Bigfoot probably is. Bigfoot is some sort of ancient hominid species that evolved to the modern day Bigfoot that we have today. How and why, who knows? That's up. That is anyone's guess at this point. But I believe that's where we are with it, because a lot of aspects of what I heard, match that. Sure, the Gigantopithecus theory does make sense in a lot of ways, but in some cases, it just maybe not all of them, but it's a very fun and interesting theory, and it does make sense. And that's it. Ooh, we're doing good. That's all the theories that I have down here, what the general majority of the public believe are the different theories that people believe of what Bigfoot is. Now, again, I'm probably going more with the ancient hominid like species, but because the scientific, a lot of the evidence for that does make sense. So, where was I? So besides obviously just having a fun episode to listen about, what was the thing I was talking about at the beginning earlier? Well, at one point, I was trying to get people, like people who were interested in the subject, if that's like, all right, like where can I learn about Bigfoot, stuff like that. It's like, oh, well, there's all these different books and stuff that you can read online and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, but like, are there any books about like like all the different theories behind Bigfoot? I'm like, I'm not sure. Let me find out and look. Looked around. I asked a few people because I think I even asked Cliff Barrickman one time at Cryptid Con a few years ago, being like, hey, like, what's a good book that talks about what's a good introduction book to like Bigfoot or like talks about the different like theories behind it? And like, sure, there are a lot of like for the idea of like introductory books, there's a lot of good ones, like, but there, as far as I'm aware, there is no book about what all the different theories of Bigfoot. Obviously, you can go online and stuff like that, but you always find like very broad generic stuff and nothing that goes like concrete deeply into it. And so what I want to do in the future, trademark by the way, is that I want to create a book where where the book may not be very big, but goes through all the different theories of what Bigfoot is, what people believe Bigfoot is, and then it'll be like, and then like a bit more like I'll let people decide. Like here's all the evidence, here's all the theories. You decide. What do you think is real? And so I kind of want to do that for people. Create a book where I talk about all the different theories, and maybe get some people to help with it, and like okay, let's look at let's do that. It's like what, like okay, here this expert says this for this reason. Like maybe get some some experts into like giving their 2 cents about it. It's just a thought, just a theory. Books take a long time to do, and my writing is terrible, so who knows. But maybe someday in the future I would like to make a book about that, and I think it'd be very fun, and maybe hopefully very beneficial to a lot of different people, and just be helpful. But that's my thing, fingers crossed in the future. And that's it. That's Bigfoot 3. I hope everyone enjoyed this one. I know this is our third episode about Bigfoot, and honestly, this one has done very well. It's not as long as the first episode, but like right now we're at 100. We're at 100, an hour and 7 minutes, and I think the last one was like, I think the first one was like an hour 12 or 15 minutes. But I'm very happy with where this one went. This was very fun. I had to slow myself down a little bit because, like a lot of cryptids, especially Bigfoot, but Bigfoot in particular, whenever I talk about cryptozoology, whenever I get excited about something, I talk fast. I'm like, my words get jumbled and everything else like that. And when recording this show the first time back in my community college, I found out that my show sounded a lot better when I just took my time, slow down, and and talked in a and just control my excitement, just like talk at a normal tone. And a lot of times I'm pretty good at that. But when it comes to Bigfoot, though, it just seems to elevate it just a bit more than everyone else. But that's just me. But I hope everyone enjoyed this episode. I really do. This one, I've been waiting for a good time to do the third Bigfoot episode. It's been the thoughts for months, but I'm thinking like, all right, I think now's a good time. It's been a while since the second one, so we're gonna do it soon. Here it is again. But yeah, so like before, like, share, comment, subscribe, all the normal YouTubey stuff. Follow the Facebook page, facebook.com/Cryptid Talk, and email me if you have a story or a video or a picture or anything, or you want my opinion about something, about any sort of cryptid. Please let me know. CryptidTalk91@AOL.com. Let me know. I would love to hear hear some stories, or help people out if possible. and I hope everyone has a good, safe weekend and everything. And remember, keep your eyes and ears open for the creepiness in store, because you never know what you'll find outside of your door. This has been Cryptid Talk with Michael Madden. Stay safe, everyone. Love you. Have a good day.